Get started. Om Indraya Namaha, Om Vishwakarmaya Namaha, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Dhanvantaraya Namaha. Has anyone heard of Vastu? Of course, I know my practitioner students have. The new students, do you know what Vastu is? Can you tell me? That's a good one. It's the Feng Shui of India. Actually, the Feng Shui is the Vastu of China. Yes, yes. I'll prove to you that by the end of the class, Griffin, I'll prove to you, because Vastu predates Feng Shui and it's an actual part of mathematics, so Vedic mathematics. Yes. So today it's very simple. I'm going to get into the story of Vastu Purusha, talk a little bit about the cities. Let me see. I just want to see who all is in attendance today. Hang on very quickly. Oh, we have a good group. All right. Thank you for joining in. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. What we're doing today is we are kind of understanding the history of Vastu, origin, story. Now, I actually found an amazing book. It is not part of our curriculum, but I found it. And I found it's one of the most authentic books because I've gotten into studying Vastu. I'll tell you my story of Vastu and Atul's story of Vastu and how we got into it as well. And we're going to get into Vastu Purusha, Vishwakarma, the directions. This is just all. And for my practitioner students, you already know some stuff. Why are the directions? Why is northwest water, or why is southeast fire? That will probably, I'm going to try and get into that today. So let's start with the divine engineer and the divine architect. I don't know why they give, when artists make pictures, they give him So the divine engineer, so basically we have a mathematician, engineer, and architect, and his name is Vishwakarma. So my Indian students know about him. It's called Vishwakarma. So in India, on Tuesday is the day of Vishwakarma, and if you have a flat tire, you can't find anybody. On the Vishwakarma day, if you have a flat tire, nobody will come and help you because they're all worshiping Vishwakarma. So all the engineering, architects, and structural engineering, all of that kind of engineering. So in India, whenever you start a project, construction of a home, or even the start of a factory, they do this prayer to Vishwakarma. So it's very interesting. You should look him up. So he's basically let's get a laser pointer. So he's basically the architect of the angels or the devas in the heavenly planets. So you might have figured. I don't know, but has anybody seen Thor? As in the Avengers Thor? So, I don't know where they got their information. Yeah, of course, everybody has seen it. So you know that they have the planet, and everything is kind of golden in that planet. They have this bridge, they have this gate, and then you walk from the gate through water, and then you enter the city, and everything is on a top of a mountain. And it's very mountainous and it's beautiful, and they have these golden huge palaces. It's actually lifted out of a Swargalok. So I really enjoy that, watching that as well. So if you were to combine that Thor, and if you were to combine that movie Avatar, so that's pretty much what the Swargaloka, which is the heaven, which is right above us, the first heavenly planet above us, kind of looks like. So if you read the text, it's very interesting. So that's kind of the closest we're going to get. I know it was done, 3D, and it's all computer generated, but it's a good one. So in that area, you have, like in that you have the god of mischief, the god of this. So Indra is what is equivalent to Jupiter or Zeus, right? And you have the Ashwina Kumaras, who are the celestial twins like Dyaus. And they are the two medicine angels. And Vishwakarma is the heavenly, basically, engineer and architect. And he is also constructed the heavenly cities. So this is who we pray to and whose guidance we want when we are constructing a house. So there is a city in India, it's called Dwarka. It was where when Krishna lived 5,500 years ago, about almost 6,000 years ago, in India, in a city called, outside in the Arabian Sea, in an island, he actually constructed a city in the island. It was not even an island, it was a city on water, on a little island. And the island itself was constructed by Vishwakarma. And when Krishna left, he made sure the city sunk under the sea. So, we'll look at it and we'll talk about what are the cities in the world right now that follow those principles of Vastu as well. So he is revered, he is worshipped, and it is customary for all craftsmen to worship their tools in his name. So you actually, how many men here? There's Griffin, George, Robert. You guys are, you guys have tools, right? You have your power tools and they're all out in the garage and whatnot. So the idea is you actually get to bless your tools as well. So you get the blessing of tools from, and I don't know how many ladies do it. I don't do anything. I know how to operate a stapler. That's pretty much it. Because Atul, by the way, Atul does all of this as well. So if you guys are doing any kind of, even painting, even if you're painting your house, we kind of ask his blessing, basically. So this is an interesting one. So I just told you that this is basically the recreation of this city. So this is underwater. So what they did was, in around 1960, the Archaeological Society of India, they started sending divers to find out the city that is sunk in water. Yeah, Jessica, so you know. And I found this video, let me stop by History Channel, they had digitally recreated, I'm going to show it to you, this city. This is a digital recreation of a Vastu city. Can everybody see this? Can everybody see this? Okay, so if you look at it, if you look at the city digital recreation, it is complete, it's like straight lines. It looks like a yantra almost, right? Of course, Dwarka was a lot bigger than this because it had 16,108 palaces, and these are not 16,108 palaces. So Dwarka, the city of Krishna, had 16,108 palaces. So it was huge. It's all under the water. This is what they made. And it looks exactly like this is a perfect Vastu city. You know, there's a city in America that almost follows very good Vastu. Do you know what that city is? Yes, Linda, exactly. DC, Washington, DC. Washington, DC, you know, it's on a grid. It follows almost Vastu. So you can, you know, the founding fathers believed in all of this. Exactly. Let's go back. All right, let's go back to our, all right. So what is Vastu? Sanskrit word Vastu is basically the Vas, is the root word Vasa. Vasa, Vasati, Vasati, Vasanti, Vas. Vas means to live. So in Sanskrit, Vas is live, and different suffixes are added to living, will live, shall live, the person who's living or the living entity is added to the Vas, right? So Vastu is is not just a dwelling or a house, but it's sitting on a land and someone lives in it. So not just an empty building, but Vasa is something meant for living, right? And it can also be not just applied to a house, but it can be applied to an office. It can be applied to factories. It can be applied to big buildings, anything, outbuildings. So it applies to interior, exterior, and the land, and the city, country. So it's not just the interior design of your house. So the kind of Vastu that is propagated today, and that's great it is, and even Feng Shui, it's all about, oh, the door should be here, you should hang something here. That is all interior. Vastu is a lot more. Vastu is the science of architecture. It's divine architecture. And it uses a lot of mathematics. And we found a book called Manushyaaya Chandrika from the Department of Mathematics in Kerala that we downloaded and we studied, Atul and I, because we found that everyone who's offering Vastu in the United States, the Indian one we don't look at because it's hard to find, that they are basically just taking one aspect of Vastu and that is what they are distributing, but they're not looking at all of it. So when we looked at that, and we also studied Brihat Samhita is a text on Jyotish, on astrology. And one chapter is dedicated to Vastu and how a house should be built. And it's all mathematics and qubits and foundation principles. It's a lot of architectural engineering, basically. How to lay the foundation of house, how to select a site, how to make sure the site is auspicious, how to prepare the ground, where to put the outbuildings, where to put the homestead, where to put the barn, how to do the landscaping, what kind of trees. Neem tree should not be in the Northeast, for instance. So it's so deep, especially practitioner students. You and I are going to get into it. Basically, whatever sit on the land that you're at. And if you live in an apartment building, then everything, even though your house is only considered the one apartment you're in, but whatever they have outside, where is the swim? A lot of apartment buildings have tennis courts, and they'll have lots of park for children to play. They might have a swimming pool. Where is it located? All of that will kind of affect. So the underlying root of Vasa is dwell, live, stay, reside. So Vastu Shastra means doctrine, teaching, scripture, you know that. So Vastu Shastra is the science of dwelling, and it comes from ancient Sanskrit manuals of architecture, and they are called Sthapatya Veda. Sthapatya Veda. Just like Ayurveda doctors are called Vaidya, someone who practices Sthapatya Veda is called Sthapati. So that's an ancient architect. So it's basically Vedic architecture. That is the foundational guiding principle behind construction, selection of land. So if you've selection of site, if you've made your own house, you know what I'm talking about. If you build a house from ground up, it is so painful. And basically designing the buildings in harmony with Mother Earth and laws of nature. It is, like for example, Vastu Shastra wants you to use more things that are local, which a lot of green, it's very much a green architecture as well, using local sources and using the principles of, basically soil science would also be part of that. Even things like if you have animals within the, you want to move the animals, should you cut the tree, should you not cut the tree? All of it is part of Sthapatya Veda. In the modern context, that if you've been reading my book, if you read my book in the chapter on Vastu, I don't know, it's chapter 5 or chapter 6. I think it's chapter 6. And I talk about how Sthapatya Veda has become condensed into a simplified version called Vastu. So hence, Griffin, I hope I have proven to you that Vastu is a lot more, and this is written in our Vedas, thousands and thousands of years ago. So I have proved that this predates Feng Shui, and it's a lot more complicated. Yeah. So let's go and look at the story and origin of. Well, I'm not surprised. So I'll tell you, have you heard of Nagas? Anybody know what Naga means? Anybody know? Nagas are basically these serpent gods, which the Chinese call dragons, right? We call them Nagas. So the entire, before China became what they have this culture of worshiping serpent gods. We call them Nagas. And in Hinduism, sometimes you go to a Hindu temple, you will see someone sitting, and there's a big snake with so many heads, coming out of, and we worship Nagas as well. And Nagas are mystical creatures. They have mystical powers. There's a story of how Arjuna, as in the Arjuna from Bhagavad Gita, married a Naga princess. Where do you think this Naga princess was? Naga. So basically, the China is a land of Nagas and mysticism. But, it has changed over the years. So yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised at all. I'm not surprised. Yeah. I mean, we are like neighbors, right? The only thing that kind of separates China from India is the Himalayas. I've only seen the Chinese border from Nepal, but I haven't entered China yet. No, actually, I've been to China through an airport. Once Beijing and once Hong Kong. And that was fun. Okay, let's go back to and hear the story. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about story and origin is I wanted to discuss the story of Vastu Purusha. And a lot of people say Lord Shiva is a beautiful statue. Yes, in India, there's all these huge statues of Shiva all over. Like you're going by the highway and you see this huge, 50-foot or 100-foot statue of Shiva. This one's a beautiful one. He's sitting in meditation. And so Vastu Purusha is not Shiva. Let's clear that up. Vastu Purusha is not Shiva. So let's see how Vastu Purusha came to be. So basically, there are many stories of entities being born out of Shiva. So for example, there was one entity that Shiva wanted people to fight in this. He took one of his hair and threw that hair on the ground, and an entity came out of it. For example, that is one way he made it. So Shiva was fighting with this bad guy, basically a demon, call him Asura. We call him, Sura means Deva or angel, and Asura means not angel, meaning demon, or there's many kind of demonic entities. Now, interestingly, sorry, has anybody read Lord of the Rings or seen the Lord of the Rings movie? There's a lot of entities in that Lord of the Rings that are mentioned in the Vedic. It cracks me up. Some of these entities are mentioned in Bhagavatam. And all of these little entities with little this, and they all serve Shiva. Elves, dwarves, all of them are serving Shiva. Even the Nagas. It just cracks me up. So I'm like into all of that stuff because I know who they're serving, right? All of this, demonic, even the demons serve Shiva, that he is their god. So when Shiva got married to Parvati, it is such a beautiful description in a book called Ramacharitamanasa that, when Shiva, the whole party was going. So Shiva was sitting on this horse because the groom is supposed to sit on a horse. And Lord Vishnu was walking with him because he was in the party with Lakshmi. And they were elves and dwarves and demons and ghosts and all of them. And the parents of Parvati, they got really scared of all these things. So what they did was, instead of having Shiva, they put Lord Vishnu and Lakshmi right in front so those guys wouldn't be scared. So it's really beautiful, if you read Ramacharitamanasa. All of these entities serve him. So Shiva is fighting with the demon, and then he started sweating. And then his sweat falls on the ground. And why do we sweat? Because it's coming out of fatigue. So out of this sweat that came out of Shiva's fatigue was born an entity. Yeah. This entity, which we nameless, was born out of fatigue of Shiva. And because it's the fatigue of Shiva, his fatigue, he's tired, right? That is kind of turned into this entity. So he started devouring everyone and everything around him and started taking everything's prana out. Now the prana or the life energy is going, so everybody got scared. The war stopped, and they're like, "What happened?" They all go to Brahma, and Brahma is the creator, and they order 45 angels or devatas to push this entity, which was born out of sweat and fatigue of Shiva, onto the earth. So he's pushed down. He's pushed down, face down. So the Vastu Purusha's face is down on the earth. In and different parts of his body, a deva or angel goes and sits on it and pushes it down. Right? And then he said, "Oh my God, please don't do this to me. Stop. I don't want you to do this to me. Can you please help me? Get them off me." So Brahma said, "Okay, I'll get these angels off you because they're very heavy. But you have to agree you can stay on earth." But he says, this entity says, "But I'm always hungry. I always want to devour prana and energy. How am I going to get?" So he said that when you stay in dwellings, when you stay in houses or buildings, then the offerings and the people, because you're supposed to do offering, right? Good energy offerings, and we are supposed to have deities, and we are supposed to have altar. When we do that, that energy will feed you and balance you. So this entity came to be known as Vastu Purusha. So you see this entity who is lying face down. Has anyone seen Vastu Purusha? Have you guys seen Vastu Purusha? Yeah, exactly. I hope you found that story interesting. And here is your Vastu Purusha. Okay. So if you have a square plot of a home, this is the head. Remember, he's face down, not face up. So this is basically the northeast is where his head is. And southwest is where his feet is. Does that make sense? In order to understand all the principles of Vastu, we really, really need to understand. And if you look at his body, remember this. So here, let me use the pen. This is kapha, kind of a lot of watery. This is water. And this is pitta. And this is vata. So before we get into the Panchamahabhut, so the Vastu Purusha, every time you make a house, a building, you set a foundation, he enters there. So when we do the construction of a house or a building, on the day one, there's something called Bhumi Pujana. Bhumi means earth puja, Bhumi Pujan. Offerings to earth and Vastu Purush. So wherever you're going to build something, whether it's a house, or if you already are moving into a ready-made home or a ready-made building, even then we do it. So we go into this empty place and we invite Vastu Purusha to come in. We invite Shiva, we invite different deities, and we ask them to get established. So we will ask them to get established. Even if you don't go, they will still get established. But then if you have an empty house, then different other entities can also come in. So there's an entire another dimension. You can have entities that you don't want in your house. That's why you want to do Bhumi Pujana. It is basically also the day you do construction of the house, or you start construction of the house on an auspicious day. That auspicious day, you do the Bhumi Pujana and you do this right? Is everybody clear on this? So basically, let's go back to... So Vastu Purusha forms resides on Earth's crust. So he's on the top of the earth. He's not deep in the earth. He's on the crust of the earth, right? And whenever there's a house, he will occupy that house. So ideally, every house building should either be rectangular or it should be square. The Stacey auspicious day is done by Jyotish Tithis following the moon calendar. For example, today, the SpaceX is trying to launch their rocket again because they tried the other day. This week, it didn't happen. And today they're trying again. So the Tithi is Navami, and Navami is okay. Navami is the 9th day. So we follow not the Gregorian calendar, but the lunar calendar. And Atul will talk about that. No, it does not Monday, Tuesday. It is Tithi. For example, Eka, Dvitiya, Tritiya is first day of the... Pratipat is the day after Amavasya or Purnima. Then Dvitiya is the second day after full moon or low moon. So it's the waxing and the waning of the moon. It's called the lunar calendar, and we follow something called Panchangam. Yeah. If you read the chapter 2, is it? Or chapter of my book, Essential Guide, the chapter that we shared with you, there is a whole thing about Panchangam somewhere. I don't remember. But it's there. But yeah, maybe Atul can touch on it. Let me go back to this. So Vastu Purusha, it sits in such a way that if you have a house, then his head will be in the northeast. His elbows are kind of here. His legs are in the southwest. So southwest is the heaviest area. It is earth and northeast is water. Now what happens, let's say if you have a house which is kind of like this. Let's erase all of this first. If you have a house, it's kind of like this. So, people have this L-shaped house or, right? So when you have a house like this, then here the arm and a little bit of leg of the Vastu Purusha is cut off. Can you see that? Are we seeing? So this area is cut off. So when you have a house or a building and the leg or the arm is cut off, then it's not good. It is not a good thing at all. Why? Because the Vastu Purusha's entire body has to fit in your house. So if that square is incomplete, and whenever you're cutting part of it off, then person who lives in the house, especially the owner of the house or the person who is the prime earner of the house, not so much the children, they will, for example, if the guy has no right arm, then money will be gone and women will be unhappy. If he doesn't have a left arm, then there'll not be enough money to put food on the table. Now, if the house is like this, if your house is like this, let's clear all drawing. Instead of a square, the house is... So this is the house and this is cut off. There is no head of the... Northeast is cut off. There is no northeast. Do you see? That means the head is absent. The owner will suffer losses of virtue and prosperity, meaning that he will be defamed. He might... And also not only will you lose wealth, but good, what is the word for it? Respect within the society. All auspiciousness will vanish from life. And if feet are missing, let's save this. If the house is something like this, if it's an L-shaped plot like this and there is no feet, right? then the man who lives in the house, or if it's a, it is not going to do, or if it's a woman who has a lot of male energy, and also who's the owner, the both men and women will suffer, but men will suffer more, because basically feet are the foundation. So foundation is missing. So anyone who lives in such a house, they will be kind of miserable, basically. If you have a house which is square and it is following this, then everybody will be happy, healthy, and also they can become famous, prosperous, and invite auspiciousness in their house. So do we understand why the plot? And don't worry, if you have to, like my practitioner students, you're going to have to do this. If you want to correct somebody who doesn't have a feet, right? If this is the plot, let's start a whiteboard. So if someone has a house, it is kind of like this. Actually, right? A lot of us, even, you know, something like that, you have a garage here and the house is like this, and it's an L shape. That means here this area is, anyone has a house like this L shaped here? Anyone? Nobody has an L shaped house, everybody has squares. Yeah, so this area is missing. That means there's going to be some problems. So what we do is, in Vastu, we add a yantra or a tool in such a way so we divide the house into two squares. So I will place the yantra, which this is not the class to talk about yantras. I'm just giving you it'll be a separate class on yantras. So I'm going to place my here and here. What we'll do that will energetically divide the house into two. So now you have 1, 2, and 3 squares or rectangles. So now we have corrected the Vastu. Does it make sense? So we create boundaries and energetic boundaries by we can also do that if you have a piece of land, and it kind of is like this. Actually, the piece of lands are not usually like this. Oops. Let me try to draw something like this. Again, the Vastu Purusha is missing. Rectangle is okay, Griffin. So what we do then is we place something called keystones, and we place the keystone in such a way that we turn this into so we do it in such a way, we have turned it into two, and then we say this, the rest of this house energetically does not belong to us. Does it make sense? We place the keystones in such a way that we say that this extra, like if you have a triangular or a diamond shape, this diamond here, we have placed a keystone and we've cut that area off to make rectangles. No, Jessica, I have seen so many. I've seen they're 99.99% land is not rectangle, not in the USA. The way it is cut, there's always one part going left or right, or a triangle or diamond, or they are not aligned. So Charuji, we'll do a separate class on that. That is outside the scope of today's class. So let me save this for you. And let's go back to Vastu Purusha. So basically, a house or the land that it sits on should be either rectangle or a or a square. And the way we check the Vastu is we divide our house into a grid of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is an 8, but you could also divide it into 9. So some people do Ashta or 8 divisions, and some people do 9 division, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 8, and 8. And these are the divisions. Each division is used. So my practitioner students, you know that graph paper with little squares for mathematics? That's what you're going to use for corrections of Vastu, right? Has anybody understood why we need a square shape? And again, it's easy to correct. Everybody's understood this, so I can move forward. All right, perfect. So we need a square shape for a person to be balanced. Let me tell you, if Vastu of a person's home is bad, nothing Ayurveda is useless. It is not going to work, because basically Vastu triumphs and more powerful over Ayurveda. Do you understand? Because why? Because Vastu is energy of earth. And we are creatures of earth. We are children of earth, Mother Earth. So the energy that Mother Earth and the land has over us is far more superior than giving a little bit of lifestyle is going to help. Do you understand where this is going? So Sthapatya Veda Vastu is a lot more powerful. I have one story which my practitioner students have already heard, so sorry I'm repeating it. I had a little 8-year-old who had an autoimmune disorder, and Ayurveda wasn't working, Chinese medicine wasn't working, regular medicine, prescription medicine wasn't working. And the mother came to me, she said, "You've been highly recommended. I've been to a Chinese medicine, Ayurveda practitioner, this, that." And they had moved to a house not few years ago, and I kind of suspected something like that was happening. So I had her, at that time, I did not used to do Vastu. So I recommended someone else who did Vastu to go to their house and correct the Vastu, so which they did. We also looked at the chart of the child, and there was something going on with Sun and with Saturn. We don't know, I can't remember it. So we sent her, Atul looked at the chart, and we sent her over to the local Hindu temple to do a correction for the Sun and this, and they also did correction of the house. Suddenly, the Chinese medicine acupuncturist they were seeing started working. And then the Ayurveda medicine that they had taken from the other Ayurveda practitioner also I gave also started working. In about 6 months' time, this child who couldn't even walk, she couldn't even walk. Her mother sent me a picture of this child playing soccer in school, and she was in tears. And again, this family was physicians and scientists. They did not believe in all this, but I insisted, and they said, "Well, we'll try it." And they did, and they became believers. So Ayurveda didn't work. And one of the things, if you look at my intake form, like for insomnia, if somebody is sleeping in the north with their head in the north direction, absolutely not. And we'll get into why you cannot sleep in, with head facing the north. That is kind of, unless you're a kapha and you want to wake up early, usually it's better to have your head towards the south. Anyway, so we know the Vastu Purusha is, I have 15 minutes left. So we know that Vastu Purusha is a square, right? So quickly tell me, is there anybody here whose everybody's house is a square here? Or apartment or whatever? So what we're going to do is next week, we're going to look at blueprints of all your houses, like made on a piece of paper. And we're also going to Google map it. Oh yeah, exactly. And also my practitioner students, you need to have a really nice compass. If you have your phone, you can also download a good compass, and you need to mark Stacy, do it on Google Maps because Google Maps always faces true north. Yes, because I'm not teaching you how to check compass. So best is look at Google Maps. Google Maps is always towards true north. So whatever the Google Maps shows is your direction. Yes. So head cut off. So whose iPhone too? I'm so sorry. It doesn't say who you are. So if the head is cut off, we need to, hi Estrella. So we need to make two. So this, what a head cut off means there's no head of the family. So there's no male head of the family will be there. Do you know what I mean? I know. So there'll be problems with relationships also, and there'll be weakness. So we want to make two squares and put a yantra there that'll kind of create those. We need to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to do corrections. The counselor students, you're just going to correct your own home, and practitioner students, you have to find not just yours, but you actually, as part of this thing, you have to go and do corrections for others. So Charuji, that's why we look at Google Maps. Today is an introductory class. I'm not going to get into it. Yes, everything is included, Jackie. Porches are definitely included. In fact, porch and, have you seen those colonial homes that they have a veranda on all four sides? I know they have that in Florida and in some southern, like plantation homes, they have like a veranda that covers on all the four sides. That is very auspicious. It's very auspicious. Also, courtyard is kind of mandatory. So let's go look at, so you have, I've colored it with the colors that, one of the things that we can do in our homes is, especially women like it, is the colors. The color of east, west, northwest, north, southwest, south. I've actually put the actual colors in. So you don't have to paint the houses. You can put like, in the southeast, if you come to my home, I have like this orange, yellow colored thing to increase the agni of someone who's eating there. And southwest should be like a brown or a gray color because it's Rahu, and west is ruled by Shani or Saturn, so it should be a blue color, like a lapis lazuli. And northwest is moon or Chandrama and things like that. It's air and things like that. So those colors are there. So each of these and the next week is when we're going to get into why. So all of these directions. Oh, I forgot to tell you one thing. I'm sorry. This is one thing I forgot. Let's go back. We're still on Vastu Purusha. So don't get confused. This is information for my practitioner students. Every day in different muhurtas. So everybody know what muhurta is, right? Different parts of the day muhurtas. The Vastu Purusha changes the position of his head between, he actually moves his head to the left and then he moves his head to the right in different muhurtas. So 2 muhurtas. And then he will also change and move his position a little bit every 3 months. And you can do a special puja or a ritual that you can actually ask him not to move his head. So when we do rituals for correcting Vastu, we do, depending on the size of the plot and how the plot is and how the energy is, we can ask him that we can ask him to change his position, or we can ask him to stay still when we do the ritual. I know it doesn't make a lot of sense, but when you start doing the correction of the homes, then it'll make complete sense. All right. So the center of the home should not, like right, if you were to count your home, is called a Brahmasthanam. It is ruled by space. If you have heavy furniture here, that will completely not good. Let's put it this way. So that area should be empty. Ideally, there should be a courtyard there. If no courtyard, just make sure there's no heavy furniture here. The color of the walls, everything should be white. There might be some mirrors there to increase it, but it should not have like big heavy duty pieces of furniture right in the smack. Like in my house, right in the center is kind of hallway, but right here in the center is a part of a pillar. So I put a mirror on it because mirror signifies a window or space. So by using the mirror, I've kind of reduced this effect of smaller Brahma Muhurtam. Each direction is ruled by a deity. So this east, planetary deity, because next week you're going to do the planets as well. So east is ruled by the sun. Southeast is ruled by Venus. South is ruled by Mars. Southwest is ruled by Yama, which is the god of death. Northeast is ruled by, Northwest is ruled by Moon, and Northeast is ruled by Jupiter. That's why North is ruled by Mercury, which is Lord Vishnu. West is ruled by Saturn. And each of these have a presiding deity. And each of these have a color. By using the colors, we can also correct the energy of the home. It doesn't mean you paint the south pink. You could just put something that is pink there. In east, put something that's orange. In west, put something that's blue. In northwest, put something that's kind of off-white. In north, light blue or gray. Southwest, brown, beige, gray, and things like that. So by doing that, we can also, now northeast is also water. Is everybody clear on this? So when we are correcting, how do we decide what to do with each? Northeast is ruled by Jupiter, and it's also water. So this is a really good, like I am right now doing my class on the Northeast because I want Jupiter to bless me so I can learn, so I can pass the knowledge. And also I have lots of, in and around the Northeast, I have my temple and altar as well. I used to have a little fountain here. It stopped working, but it's a good place to put a little water. And in the northeast corner of our house, we put a pond right at the northeast with flowing water, because flowing water in northeast not only gives good energy and knowledge, but also wealth as well in our. So if you cannot do it inside the house, if you have land, you could place something there. So this is just one thing I'm explaining to you. South, so it's also a good place to have a home office. Southeast is ruled by fire. It's the best place to have the kitchen, because fire is, if you have a bedroom in southeast, it'll be, so my bedroom is actually, it's on the southeast on the top. Underneath is the kitchen. The second floor is the bedroom. And ever since we moved, and I'm a kapha, I've never had insomnia in my entire life. I've had trouble sleeping ever since we moved into this house 4 years ago. I enter and I feel the heat inside. So in the winter, I love to spend time in the bedroom because it's nice and warm, but in summer, it's horrible. So I've had to do some yantras to reduce, and I end up actually sleeping in the northeast a lot of times. So, for insomnia, you definitely want to ask these questions. So also northeast, east, north are the best directions to have an entrance. This is okay. Part of west is okay. The worst direction to have an entrance is south. South direction, if your house is facing south, it's a south direction. It'll invite a lot of disease and problems. Very simply, if you have a south direction, just use the north door. And then again, the middle of the house should be Brahmasthanam. So in places like India, in South India, they have these old courtyard homes. Like in Kerala, I think they call them Naliketu. In Chennai, there is homes. In Goa also there's homes. Yeah, that's that. Yeah, not to use that, but to use something else. But there also yantras can be put there. We can cut the house in such a way energetically so the south is not part of your home. So those are the things that can be done. That's not a problem. All right, has everybody kind of understood? So because southeast is fire, that's why kitchen is best placed here. So I'll tell you, we had I went to do vastu for someone's house, and her kitchen, now northwest is best for a garage and also an exercise space, or even like kids bedroom where you need space or something like that. Her kitchen was in the northwest air, and then what used to happen was that every time, no, not sorry, not northwest. Her kitchen was in the northeast in the water. Her kitchen got like flooded 5 times. It was crazy. And I said, because you're in water, and the problem was, it was just always, so we moved a little bit of a kitchen from the northeast. Like I had her face southeast and she actually moved a little bit towards east. So things got better. And she moved her appliances because she was able to do it like, right in here, a little bit to here, towards the east. And that actually helped. Yes, Daniela, exactly. If your kitchen is in the northeast, the appliances are just not going to work. In my last house in California, our kitchen was in northwest, but sorry, our kitchen was in the west. Was it in the west? Yes, our kitchen was in the northwest west. And what I used to do was when I was cooking, I could face the east. That was fine. But the appliance in the west, we had an appliance from Sears. In this, we replaced the gas stove like 3 times. It just wouldn't work. I had like big, huge yantras. Even with the yantras, that would happen. Exactly. You could put so you want to increase, yeah. That's a, interestingly, if you read my book, there is a huge population of South Indians in Dallas, especially people from, Bangalore and Karnataka and Hyderabad. And what they've done is they only want to buy new houses in Dallas. So, and that are kind of Vastu based. And that has driven the prices of certain areas, certain suburban areas in Dallas. They want a new house, new kitchen. Same in Atlanta. Oh my God, Indians do this everywhere, right? Indians will do this everywhere. I know because I have a friend who is a real estate agent he's an engineer, but he does real estate on the side in Dallas. And he kind of builds houses and then people will pay something like $20,000 to $30,000 more for that. And I've had realtors, like white people, who are learning Vastu so they can show Vastu homes to their Indian clients. And like for me also, I would never go into a house and use someone else's appliance. I spent a fortune in appliances when we moved to this house, because I'm not touching, if red meat was cooked in it, I'm not touching it. It's so impure for me. Plus there's all this energy. So we just removed, every single appliance got changed, because of the Vastu. And it kind of drives the prices up. So that's kind of interesting that that's happening in the United States. Yes, I think with my uncles in Atlanta, I know that wherever you have this, even in Houston, somewhere, I can't remember, somewhere in Houston, there is a suburb that has, it has a lot of Indians, like Southern Houston, not far from NASA. And a lot of houses are Vastu houses. Hi, Priyanka ji, namaste. Oh, New Jersey, again, there's so many Indians in New Jersey. They want Vastu homes. So Vastu homes is an actual thing. We have a student who is in San Diego. She did the Ayurveda counselor, but she fell in love with Vastu. So Daniela, get in touch with Sureka's husband. He knows. Sureka, our student, he is the one who is doing all these Vastu homes. So let me get you in touch with them today. Yeah. He would know. He's kind of dealing with that. Unfortunately, the Vastu homes are slightly premium, but we don't have, and kind of the realtors have caught on to it as well. Yeah. All right. So I hope, so we'll talk about next week. We'll get into, make sure you have a compass. And I've given you some, this is a good web archive I found about Vastu Shastra. This is the book. It's called Vastu Workbook, and she has given, or he has given, references from Brihad Samhita. There's a lot of nonsense that is floating around related to Vastu, and this is why Atul and I started. Like, we are still trying to figure out that Malayali text, which is a language we don't speak, but we also found a Stapati. You're trying to find a house in Dallas, Charuji? Oh, not Sureka, her husband. She is an engineer. He is the one who's doing yeah. No, they only do real estate in the city of Dallas, not here. I think yes. Yeah, they're in Dallas. So Daniela knows her. All right, so next week we are going to get into everybody. We're going to look at the alignment of your home with the true north. So there is the magnetic north and true north. We're going to look at alignment. And so all the students, we'll take your address, we'll look at the alignment and check it in Google Maps. So it'll be a fun class next week. Actually, yeah, my class is going to be right at the end. Atul is going to do Jyotish first next week. And then after Jyotish, we're going to do this one. All right, I'm done. Any questions? Any questions? Then I will stop.